The wrestling world is buzzing with a conversation nobody saw coming just months ago. Fans are flooding social media with demands to bring back the one man who was practically exiled from his own empire. Vince McMahon, the architect of modern professional wrestling, the mastermind behind WrestleMania, and the controversial figure who stepped away amid serious allegations, is suddenly being championed by the very audience that watched his departure. If you love wrestling drama, hit that subscribe button because this story gets wild. The question burning through every forum and comment section is simple but loaded with complexity. Why are WWE fans now clamping for the return of Vince McMahon? Understanding this phenomenon requires looking at what WWE has become since McMahon's exit and what it was under his iron grip. When Vince stepped down in July 2022 and then officially retired, handing control to his daughter Stephanie McMahon and co-CEO Nick Khan before Triple H took over creative, fans initially celebrated. The wrestling community had spent years criticizing Vince's creative decisions, his obsession with certain body types, his habit of changing scripts at the last possible second, and his seeming disconnect from what modern audiences wanted. Triple H taking over creative was treated like a renaissance moment. Finally, wrestling fans thought, someone who understands the business from a performer's perspective would be steering the ship. The initial months under Triple H's creative leadership delivered exactly what fans claimed they wanted. Storylines had more depth and continuity. Wrestlers who had been underutilized suddenly got meaningful screen time. The product felt more sports-oriented and less cartoonish. Matches went longer and showcased technical ability. Returns and debuts of major talents created genuine excitement. Seth Rollins became a fighting champion. Cody Rhodes got his moment. The Bloodline story continued its dominance. Everything seemed perfect on the surface, yet something started shifting in the fan response. Ratings tell one part of the story. While WWE hasn't collapsed by any measure, the numbers haven't exploded either. Raw and SmackDown maintain steady audiences, but the explosive growth some predicted under new leadership hasn't materialized. Viewership remains relatively flat compared to the final years under Vince's creative control. More importantly, the cultural penetration WWE enjoyed at its peak hasn't returned. Mainstream media coverage has diminished. The water cooler moments that made wrestling appointment television have become rarer. WWE under Triple H produces quality wrestling, but it doesn't produce the chaos that makes people who don't watch wrestling suddenly pay attention. This is where the Vince McMahon nostalgia begins crystallizing into actual demand. Fans are realizing that what they said they wanted and what actually kept them obsessively engaged might be two different things. Vince's WWE was unpredictable in ways both frustrating and thrilling. You never knew if your favorite wrestler would get pushed or buried on any given week. Storylines would pivot without warning. Logic would get thrown out for spectacle. Characters would do things that made no sense but created unforgettable television. That chaos was exhausting, but it was also addictive. Every week felt like anything could happen because Vince might wake up and change everything. The current product is more consistent, more logical, and more respectful to wrestling as an art form. It's also more predictable. Fans can often see where stories are heading months in advance. The surprise factor has diminished. The wildcard element that made you tune in just to see what insane decision might happen has been replaced with solid, competent wrestling television. For hardcore wrestling fans, this might be preferable. For the casual audience that WWE needs to grow, it lacks the hook that Vince instinctively understood. He knew how to create moments that transcended wrestling and became cultural touchstones. The business side adds another layer to this conversation. When Vince returned briefly in early 2023 to facilitate the sale of WWE to Endeavor and the merger with UFC to create TKO Group Holdings, he demonstrated his irreplaceable value in certain arenas. Love him or despise him, Vince McMahon is one of the greatest promoters and dealmakers in entertainment history. He built WWE from a regional territory into a global entertainment empire. His relationships, his understanding of media rights negotiations, and his ability to present WWE as more than just wrestling made that merger possible. The company's valuation and the deal's structure reflected his vision and execution over decades. Now fans see WWE as part of a larger corporate structure, sharing resources and attention with UFC. Some wonder if the company needs Vince's promotional instincts and his ability to fight for WWE's interests within this new landscape. Triple H is a brilliant creative mind and a respected figure in wrestling, but he's never been the promoter or business shark that Vince was. Nick Khan handles business operations, but he's not a wrestling person in the way that resonates with the audience. There's a feeling among some fans that WWE needs someone who lives and breathes the product in that obsessive, slightly unhinged way that only Vince McMahon did. The elephant in the room remains the serious allegations that led to Vince's departure. Multiple women came forward with claims involving hush money payments and inappropriate behavior. These allegations are substantial and cannot be dismissed or minimized. A federal investigation was launched. The details that emerged painted a troubling picture of workplace culture and personal conduct. Any conversation about wanting Vince back must acknowledge this reality. The wrestling industry has a long history of overlooking problematic behavior from powerful figures, and fans calling for his return must grapple with what that says about priorities and values. Yet the calls persist and grow louder with each passing month. Social media campaigns trend regularly. Comment sections under WWE content fill with variations of "Bring Back Vince." Fan podcasts debate whether WWE needs his creative chaos. The sentiment isn't universal. Many fans remain firmly opposed to any return, but it's significant enough to notice. This reflects something complicated about fandom and entertainment. People can simultaneously acknowledge someone's wrongdoing while missing the specific talents they brought to their craft. It doesn't make the wrongdoing acceptable, but it reveals how audiences struggle with separating art from artist, product from producer. WWE continues forward without Vince McMahon at the helm, producing solid television and successful premium live events. The company remains profitable and globally recognized. Whether it needs Vince back depends entirely on what success means. If success is respectful treatment of talent, logical storytelling, and quality wrestling, the current regime delivers. If success is cultural dominance, unpredictable chaos, and the ability to create mainstream moments that transcend the wrestling bubble, fans arguing for Vince's return have a point worth considering. The truth probably lives somewhere between these extremes, in the uncomfortable space where we acknowledge both what someone built and what they allegedly destroyed. If you made it this far, subscribe because wrestling never stops giving us complicated stories worth examining.